I know that the weekend was billed as Tara practice, and we've been doing the 3 principal aspects of the path, and we still haven't finished. And I was hoping to do that this afternoon. But if you feel cheated that you didn't get the Tara practice, yeah, one thing to know is that Tara is the manifestation of the 3 principal aspects of the path. So if you are learning those things, then you will know who Tara is, yeah? Instead of just looking and saying, well, there's a green one, there's a white one, you know, she can't make up her mind what she is. You know, and who's this green lady and who's this totally white lady, and why did they sit there? They don't move, because you think Tara's a statue. Yeah, just know that when we study the regular teachings, you know, and the classical teachings, that we are learning, you know, who these deities are. Yeah, that this is what is going on in their mind. This is what they embody, you know. So we don't usually see them so much as people, as much as embodiments of qualities. And if you were going to express some of these qualities in a physical form, how would you do it? Okay, so if you're thinking, let's say, of green Tara, so green is usually associated with growth, success, yeah, not money, although some people, yeah, but, you know, growth and success. And so that's kind of Tara's specialty, you know, for that. But it doesn't mean that that's all she does and that she's some person sitting up there in the clouds, in the fog today. You know, it's, if we could take those qualities, all the enlightened qualities, and express them in a physical form in a way similar to the way an artist has some feeling about things and they express it in a painting, okay? So Tara's green color expressing growth, expressing success, you know? And then the way she's sitting, you know, her left leg is tucked in, her right leg is extended. So the left leg tucked in, showing that she has control of the subtle energies in the body. The right leg extended, she's wants to step out and be a benefit. Okay, so you have those two things, you know, inner peace, inner control, and also reaching out to benefit sentient beings. You know, her left hand, again, close to her heart, fingers like this. So these two fingers are wisdom and method combined. And then the 3, you can see these either as the 3 principal aspects of the path, or Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the 3 jewels. And then her right hand is on her knee, again, palm open, reaching out to benefit sentient beings. So you have the left side of her body showing, you know, that she's done the inner work and has those qualities, and the right side reaching out and being a benefit. Yeah. She's in the form of a woman. Lama Yeshe used to call her Mummy Tara. Yeah. And he said that usually, you know, when you're a little kid, when you need comfort or when somebody bullies you or whatever, you call for your mom. You know, when George Floyd, you know, that big man was dying, he called for his mom. So Lama was saying, you know, that appearing in that female form, it makes taking refuge easier, maybe, and more comfortable. There's more of a feeling of a personal relationship, you know, compared to Yamantika, who's like, you know. Yeah, but he has his physical forms, you know, he has the same realizations as Tara, but those are manifesting in a different physical form. Okay, so especially now we've done the determination to be free, we've done something about bodhicitta, and now we're going to go into the third principal aspect, gaining the correct view. And so when we study these, we are learning about who Tara is, you know, what her qualities are, what her realizations are. Okay? So I don't want you to feel cheated. Yeah. Because if you feel cheated, then it's really bad for my reputation. Oh, yeah. So that's another rule of the universe. When you talk about me, you can only say nice things. Yeah. Do you have that rule in your universe too? Yeah? When people talk about you, they can only say nice things. They aren't allowed to say anything that's not nice. Yeah, even if it's true. Yeah. But when you talk about nice things, you can fudge a little bit. Yeah. and you know, you're not exaggerating, you're just
accentuating.
Yeah, accentuating. Okay, so now we're on verse 9. So this is explanation of the correct view of emptiness. So even if you meditate upon the determination to be free and the altruistic intention of bodhicitta, without the wisdom realizing the ultimate nature, you cannot cut the root of cyclic existence. Therefore, strive for the means to realize dependent arising. Okay, so this is, you'll notice with each of the three principles, there's a verse that talks about the purpose, its purpose in the path, and then how to do it, and then what's the measure of being successful, in doing it. So this verse is talking about the purpose of meditating on the correct view. Okay, so ignorance is the root of samsara, and because of this ignorance, that isn't just, it's not like ignorance in terms of you don't know how high Mount Everest is, yeah, or ignorance that you voted for the other political party, but it's the ignorance that doesn't understand how things actually exist. Yeah, and how people actually exist. What is the ultimate mode of existence? And what happens is, because we don't know this, first of all, there's darkness, figuratively, mental darkness, and, but then we create all sorts of wrong conceptions. And the biggest of these problematic wrong conceptions is grasping all people and phenomena as having some intrinsic essence that makes them what they are, something that makes them an independent entity that is whatever the name of them is, So flowers are always very nice to use as an example. We look at the flowers, and they're flowers, right? They're real flowers. I don't know if the leaves are real. Are they real? They're real too.
From outside.
Okay. But yeah, so they're real in one way in that they're not artificial. But we look at that, and this is a flower. Okay, yeah, would everybody agree? Nobody has any problems. This is a flower. And we look at it, how does it appear to exist? As if it has flower nature from it inside of it, as if its just very presence is calling out, I'm a flower, I'm a flower. Yeah. So that every jerk, even, our beloved jerks, of whom we're one of them, walks in the room, everybody would know this is a flower, right? Now, the problem with that is if somebody who speaks French walks in, it is not a flower, it is a... Okay. And if somebody who speaks German walks in, it is a... Blumen. And if somebody speaks Spanish, Flora. Okay. And if somebody speaks Hindi, food. Yeah. So, but we're certain it has the entity that makes it a flower. But if that's so, how come it can have different names? Because when those people see it, they see, this is a food. Oh. This flower's not a fool. So, yeah. So if it had that entity of being that object, it couldn't go by any other name. Also, if it had this flower nature inside of it, then we should be able to find what that flower nature is. So you know the, can I destroy this flower for the sake of the Dharma? So, you know the thing, she loves me not, or he loves me. So this is where it originated. Flower, right? Okay. Is this a flower? No. She loves me. She still loves me. The flower? No. Where did the flower go? What happened to the flower? There was something there that we were certain it was a flower. And if it, is a real flower, independent of everything else, well, what about this? Is that a flower? But wait a minute, when it was attached here, it was a flower. And it looked like it had flower nature. Then none of these individually is a flower? Yeah. The pile together isn't a flower. this isn't a flower. What happened to the flower? Yeah. Was there something that had the essence of being a flower there? No. Okay. So that's pretty easy. Okay. Do most of you have pets? Yes. Okay. So take your pet dog, your pet cat, or pretend you have a pet. Yeah, that is, dog, cat, bird, whatever you want to call it. I'll call it cat. Yeah, because we have cats. But I can call it dog too. Okay, let's try dog. We've been watching all the dogs in the park. They're very happy. Okay, so there's a dog there, a real dog. Yeah, that is a dog. It is not an elephant. Yeah, it's not a cat. It's not a high chair. It's a dog. Now, when your pet dog dies, do you still have a dog?
You have a dead dog.
Hmm?
You have a dead dog.
You what?
A dead dog.
You have a dead dog. Is a dead dog a dog?
Yeah.
Is a dead human being a human being? Does a dead human being have the right to vote? Can a dead, well, depends who you're talking to. Okay. Yeah. Can a human being get a driver's license? Yes? Okay. So a dead something isn't actually that object. Yeah. When this flower dies, let's say it's all wilted and brown, yeah, is it a flower? It's a dead flower, but a dead flower isn't a flower. You certainly wouldn't give a dead flower, well, hopefully you wouldn't give a dead flower to somebody on Valentine's Day. Yeah, you'd be kind of in trouble if you did, because a dead flower isn't a flower. Okay. So is when your dog dies, do you have a dog? No. You have the body of the dog. What's missing? The consciousness, the mind of the dog. The mind's dog has separated from that body. Okay, the body of the dog isn't a dog. Is the mind of the dog a dog? No. Because, well, there's a few reasons. If the mind of the dog were an inherently existent dog, then how could that dog later be born as a human being? Because then it would have been a real dog's mind, and how could it ever change to become a real human being mind? So the dog's mind is not a dog. Yeah. Now, try that with a person, somebody that you care about. Yeah. Who is that person that you care about? Is it their body? Now, if you have a lot of lust, you might say, yeah, but is that person their body? Now, what is the body? It's a bunch of organic vegetable goo. Isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah. We decorate the vegetable goo. Yeah. We give it perfume, we decorate it, we make it look really nice. Yeah. But is it a person? No. How about the mind of the person? Yeah. You might say, well, the mind is the brain. I was in one science conference early on with His Holiness, and there were a couple of scientists there who were very reductionist. You know, everything is material. And so, you know, he really pushed this view. So some of us at the end of the day, after the scientists left, some of the Buddhists were hanging around talking. And we could just imagine this man who, you know, everything, the brain is the person. Yeah. So we could just imagine this man going home and, you know, his wife's brain is there on the table. It's like, oh, you are so beautiful. I love you so much. Those gray folds, you know, in your brain, just send me to the moon. You know, it's the person, the brain. Yeah. He was, and we thought, you know, we could just imagine when he said to his wife, I love you, that she's going to go back, say, well, did you do a galvanic skin response? Did you test it there? Did you do my EKG and my EEG? And how do you know you love me? Because love has got to be something material that you could measure according to you, hubby, you know? So, oh, what is it you love? Interesting question, isn't it? What is it you love? Well, I love the person. They are so kind. Oh, what about when they're in a really bad mood? Yeah. Is that the same person? Is that a different person? Is that even a person? Or is it just a bad mood? You know, who or what is the person that you love so much? Can you find them? Hmm? Then you look at yourself. You know, some of you are starting to give me dirty looks at this point. Yeah, where that woman who was here yesterday and the day before. Yeah. So, you know, who is the person? Then you look at yourself. You know, do you have a feeling of me? I am here. Yeah. Yeah, there's me. I am here. Yeah, there is an I that is here. Right? Who is that I? What is that I? When you say, I am here, if just your body were here, would you be here? If your mind were here, where is here for a mind that doesn't have form and isn't made of material? Yeah. Are you your mind? Which mind? The mind or the consciousness when you're asleep, or the one when you're awake? Yeah. The person that's in the good mood, a good mood, or a person in the bad mood? Are you your kindness, or are you your anger? Two opposite qualities. Yeah. Are either of those qualities the person, who that person is? No. Can you find some, is the, the body and mind here? Can you, the person, be something totally separate from the body and mind so that your body and mind is here, but you are over across the street? No, that's not going to work either. So who are you? Yeah, we say, I am here. I. Who or what is that I?
Jiva Atman.
Huh?
From a yogic perspective, Jiva Atman.
Jiva. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there's an Atman, a soul. I am my soul. What is your soul? Yeah. What is your soul? Yeah. There's just a body and there's a mind. Is there something else that is really you? So that your body and mind could be here and your Atman is across the street? Okay. When we start to really analyze, and what we're looking for here is something that is inherently that object. Yeah, that has the nature of that object. This is a computer. Everybody knows that. Yeah, except the dog. Okay, but it is a computer. On what basis do we say it is a computer? Is this the computer? Is that the computer? If I could open up the insides of it and show you all the wires and different things, are any of them individually a computer? Is the computer a pile of the parts? No. Is the computer the parts arranged in a particular formation? Some people are saying yes, and some people are saying no. Yeah. You can put all the parts together. Does that guarantee that it's going to function as a computer? No. It could be a dead computer. Okay. But we say, my computer. Yeah, there's a real me who is the owner of this thing, which is a real computer. Oh, now before the screen was dark, now the screen lights up. Which one is the computer? The dark screen, the screen that says search and gives you some choices. Okay, so what we're getting at, yeah, what we're getting at is that things appear to us to have their own essence, their own, if you're a living being, your own Atman, your own soul. Okay. But when you start really looking, is any of that individually who the person is? No. Putting them together, even in a particular arrangement, isn't necessarily who the person is. Yeah. So what is this feeling of I am here, an independent entity. Yeah, is maybe there's something wrong with who we think we are. Yeah. When I was little and I got in trouble, my mother would say, "Now, just who do you think you are, young lady?" Did your mother say similar things to you? Who do you think you are doing that? It was actually a very good question. I didn't realize the import of that question until I met the Dharma. Yeah? Who do I think I am? And I can tell you a lot about who I think I am, but am I any of those things? Yeah, I can say I'm an American. On what basis? Is this thing American? Is my body American? Is my mind American? You open up, you find my mind, or maybe my brain, you open it up and it says made in America. Trump would go right on, that's what we want. Made in USA. Okay. On what basis do I say I'm American? Okay. I say that on the basis of having an American passport. Aside from that, there is no conventional basis for me to say I'm American. It's only because we all agree that if somebody has a blue book with certain scribbles in it, and a chop and a picture that's always an awful picture of you. Yeah, but my passport photo, really, I look like a ghost. Yeah, but it's only on the basis of having that piece of paper that you can claim to be a certain nationality. And if you give up that piece of paper, you get another one from another country with a different kind of stamp, then you're that citizen. So who are you? And if you're in two countries that allow multiple nationalities, oh my goodness, who are you? Okay. So what we're getting at here is that we think there's a real person. But when we search for what that real person is, we can't find it. Yeah. Does that mean that there's no person?
No.
No, there are people. Yeah. Each one of us is a person. And you know what? Your dog is a person, and a cat is a person, and a bird is a person. Every living being is a person. So don't think just human beings. Yeah, Buddhism defines person differently than regular English does. Okay, so we aren't a body, we aren't a mind, we aren't something separate from the body and mind, but we exist. Yeah, you exist. Yeah, we exist. We're all sitting here. Yeah, you're not hallucinations of my mind. I may project stuff on you, but that's my projection. But you exist. There are people here. But who is that person? Okay, try it this way. Okay, think of somebody who you really don't like, who comes up to you and says, "You idiot, I trusted you and then you did blah, 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 and how could you?" And you're just like so obnoxious and you disappointed me and blah, blah, blah. Okay? So you feel like, they're attacking me, right? There's a big feeling of I at that time. They're attacking me. Okay, very interesting when that happens. Then just sit there and say, okay, who is the I that is being attacked? Okay, are they saying, "Oh, you're so ugly," about my body? Well, which part of my body are they talking about as ugly? Yeah, okay, my intestines are not so beautiful. But I don't think they're saying that when they say you're ugly. Yeah, so what are they saying? What is a body? When somebody says, you're ugly. Oh, my body. They're saying this on the basis they think my body is ugly. Yeah. What? You don't like my little finger? My little finger is ugly? Really? You just said your eyes are like diamonds, your teeth are like pearls. So I took my eyes out and I put them here. I took my teeth out and I put them here. Yeah? Do you think that my body is so beautiful then? Or if my teeth are rotten, then I'm ugly? Yeah. Oh, you're so ugly. What? Which wrinkle do you think is ugly? You have so many wrinkles. Which wrinkle? What do you have against my wrinkles? Yeah? They're natural. And everything we want to be natural nowadays. Yeah? Certified, made in nature. Yeah? So these are my wrinkles, made in nature. You think my wrinkles are ugly? Yes, your wrinkles are awful. Which wrinkle? I have lots of them. Yeah. When I don't smile, you don't see them. When I smile, I have even more. Yeah. Okay. So what we're getting at is we have an idea of things having an essence that makes them what they are, and they appear that way to us to be that object. But when we examine what it really is, we can't find that object. So there's some discrepancy between how something appears to be and how it is. A person appears to be a real person. It appears that way. But it isn't real in the sense of having an inherent nature. That is it, something that certifies it to be who it is. Okay, so there's some discrepancy there. Yeah, there's an appearance, it appears one way, it exists in another way. Okay, so the way it appears is to have inherent nature. Yeah. The way it exists is it exists basically because it's an accumulation of parts that together we have given it a certain designation, a certain name. Yeah, but having given it that name, we think that it is that object. Yeah? And that leads to a lot of problems, because if we think it really is that, then everything is imbued with some essence and becomes quite solid. Yeah. So that when somebody says, you know, you're a creep, yeah, and you feel so much like, they're attacking me. Well, who is the creep? You know, are you one part of your body? Well, yeah, you could say my insides are pretty creepy, but are they what this person is referring to when they call me a creep? Yeah, it's interesting. Somebody calls you a name, we're very insulted. But what is the definition of a creep? Yeah. When they're saying you're a creep or you're a jerk, we know, oh, it's something negative. But do we have a definition of that word? Yeah? Can we agree on a definition? Okay. What's the definition of a jerk?
They're not nice.
What?
They're not nice.
They're not nice. What does nice mean?
To me, it means something, and to you, it means something else. So never mind.
Okay. So what we're getting at is everything that exists is made of parts, and then we give it a designation, a name, and then we think it is that name, and it has some inherent nature in it.
This is related to dependent arising because the flower will decay and turn to compost, and then that will help grow the food that we may eat. So then the flower becomes us. So we're all sort of each other.
It is related to dependent arising, but the flower doesn't become, what are you saying the flower becomes? Compost. And then what does the compost become?
It helps the seed grow.
Carbon, nitrogen,
Yeah.
soil.
So it is the compost, does it become one seed?
It's just striking me that everything's made of the same stuff.
It is made of the same stuff? You're made of the same stuff as a computer? Yeah. This is one ancient Indian belief that and it's ancient Indian, but it's also very modern, that there is one substance and everything is made out of that one substance. One substance. How big is one substance? Let's say it's this big. One substance, but this has parts. So which is the substance? Yeah. So when we look really closely at things, you know, everything, people love to say everything is one. What in the world does that mean? Everything is one. Yeah, I'm an apple, I'm a giraffe, I'm a computer, I'm a garbage truck. Everything is one? Yeah, I don't think everything's one. I am you. We're all one. I am you. So give me your bank account. Yeah, we're all the same. I am you. So yeah, we're all one. So yeah, turn over your bank account. You aren't doing that. Why not? Because we're different. Well, are we one or are we different? Because those two things are contradictory. You can't be one thing and also be different. Yeah, so that made of this, yeah, so what is this stuff that everything is made out of? Are you telling me that there's one cosmic mind and we are all chips off the old block? We're all made of the same one cosmic mind? Yeah, that there's one mind. Yeah.
In some tradition, that's exactly what.
Yeah, many traditions say that, but what we're doing is investigating, is it accurate? People say lots of stuff. Yeah, and it's written in lots of books and lots of religious traditions. But what we're doing is examining and saying, is this accurate? Okay. I mean, many people believe that God created the world. Yeah, some of you may still believe that. Wait till I get done with you. Then your priest, your rabbi, your imam is going to go after me and say, you jerk. Yeah. Yeah. There's so many different things. Yeah. If God created you, who created God? Well, God was always here. So God is permanent or God is impermanent? Oh, God is permanent. If God is permanent, how can he create? Because creation involves change, and change means something cannot remain the same. So God cannot be permanent. If God is impermanent, then it means somebody or something must have created him or her or it or whatever God is. You know, who created God? Well, okay, let's try another question. We don't like that one. Don't ask that question. Okay. So then, I'm telling you what I did as a little kid. I was curious. And I said, okay, why did God create the world? Yeah. Did you ever ask that question? Yeah. That's one of the questions you're not supposed to ask. What answer did you get?
From the Indian tradition, because God, it's Leela, it's just God's play.
It's God's play. Well, God needs to learn how to play better.
That was my reply.
What?
That was my reply. That why would he create something with so much suffering?
That was what I said too.
Which one of the gods are we talking about?
Any God, doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah. Why would some all-powerful, supposedly compassionate being create this mess? I asked that question as a kid, and it was like, well, God created because he was lonely. Well, I thought God was perfect. Perfect people don't get lonely. Well, okay, let's try another question. Why did God create? Yeah, well, because he wanted you to exist. Well, why did he create me the way I am and not create me as somebody else? There's no answer to that one either. Why did God create so much suffering? Because God wants us to learn. Well, why didn't God create us to start smarter to start with? because I don't see many people learning from their suffering. No, you just keep asking, and you can't get a really satisfying answer, except it's a mystery. Yeah, you get, it's a mystery. And so what happens is God's will. Yeah, well, that's what Trump said. You know, God saved his life so that he could save America and make America great again. It's God's will that he's the president. Oh, there's Mary. I mean, God is, he needs his brain checked, you know? Yeah, yeah. There's a 2-year-old who dies. It's God's will. What? What kind of God who is supposedly compassionate makes a 2-year-old die? You know, it becomes extremely difficult when you start asking. Yeah. So people come up with all sorts of theories, all sorts of traditions. It's written in books and sacred books. It's taught by people who have big titles and sit on glorious seats. But we are checking what is true and what is accurate, not just what other people say. Because, you know, as His Holiness Dalai Lama instructs us, we have to investigate and see if something is logical. If it doesn't make sense, you know, then something's wrong. So he's really, you know, really stresses that we don't just believe because Buddha said so. Yeah. If your faith in Buddha is based on Buddha said so, therefore I believe, yeah, then when Elon comes along and he says so, then you're going to believe him because he said so. Yeah. So we have to use our discriminating wisdom to decide what is true and what isn't. Just because somebody has said so doesn't make it true. Otherwise, every single conspiracy theory would be true. But the conspiracy theories contradict one another. So how can they all be true? Okay. So the importance of investigation using reasoning cannot be underestimated in Buddhism. Yeah, it's really, really important. Okay, so we looked at I. We had a little bit of difficulty with I, but we did come to the conclusion that there's an appearance of a real person, but that appearance is false. But there still is a person, just not a person with an inherent soul, Atman nature. Okay? Okay, so that's I. Let's try my or mine. Okay, this is mine. What does mine mean? Actually, I'm not telling you the truth. This is not mine. This is mine. My glasses. What makes these glasses mine?
Social convention.
Yeah, it's social convention, isn't it? Because there's nothing, but when we see the glasses and I say these are my glasses, okay? What about your car? Everybody have a car? No. Everybody has a coat. Yeah. Yeah. Cars are good though, because we're more attached to cars than coats. So just pretend that you have a car. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, when the car is on the showroom floor, right? And you walk by, and this is a very nice car, very attractive car, really good. I might consider getting it. But then, so you see it, one day like that. You come back the next day, and it's scratched and it's dented. Yeah. Do you get bummed out about that? No, it's not your car, And if you did decide to get it, then you wouldn't get that particular car. You would get another car that looked like that one. Okay. So you're not upset if the car on the showroom floor gets scratched or dented. Now, let's say you come back the next day and you give the person a piece of plastic, and they tell you that the car is now yours. Yeah, that's how we get a car. You give them a piece of plastic, just a small piece of plastic, even smaller than your phone. Yeah, and they say, here's the car is yours. Okay, so you drive the car away, yeah, and you take the piece of plastic back. Now, what in the world are you giving that person? You give them a piece of plastic, you take it back. It's like he gives me a brooch before every teaching, then he takes it back. And it isn't even a golden one. It could be a golden brooch. Yeah. But don't you think this would look good? Paint, spray painted gold. No, I want real gold. Anyway, let's come back to the car. If I trade plastic for the car, and I drive the car and I park it somewhere, okay, and I come back and my new car is scratched and dented, what happens? You cry, you scream, you blame somebody else. Yeah, you freak out. My car is dented. Now, what's the difference between when it gets dented or scratched and it's at the dealer's? You don't get upset. But after you give them some plastic and you drive it home, you do get upset. What's the difference? What? It's the same car, isn't it?
If you choose to make the repair, because I probably wouldn't, it takes time and you have to deal with it. That's it.
Yeah. But I'm asking, what's the difference in your emotional reaction? If it got dented at the dealer's, you don't care. If you call it my car and it gets dented, you care a lot. But it's the same, the continuity of the same car. What made that car yours?
Well, we invest the money, our money, into it to own it, to
Yes.
take possession of it.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, you gave them a piece of plastic and they gave you the car. Yeah. So it's basically because you traded plastic for a car, that what is changing is the name. It was the dealer's car, now it's my car. As soon as we call something mine, it takes on a whole different meaning than if I don't call it mine. Okay, take your husband. Yeah. Yeah.
You can have them.
don't even have to give you a piece of plastic to get him. Huh? He comes free. But it's interesting, you know, what makes somebody your spouse? Yeah, well, we got married. Well, that's nice. But what was it? You know, we say, oh, we're married, then now the relationship is different. But, you know, 1 second before married and 1 second after married, you're pretty much the same. So what changed? Yeah. The name changed. The name is just a sound, isn't it? It's just a word. It's just a sound. But as soon as you say we're married, then there's a whole bunch of meaning that gets put on that. As soon as you say my husband, or even my dog, or I heard about some movie star married their dog. I remember reading, okay?
What kind of news are you reading?
There was some movie star, I forget who it was. No, one of the really famous ones. Anyway, or singer, you know. Anyway, okay. As soon as we put the word my or mine on it, there's this whole projection of meaning that comes on it. Yeah. Where did that meaning come from? Is it in the article, the thing itself? No, that meaning is what we projected. Yeah. So yeah, it's the word my is actually, or mine is fascinating, you know, to watch how what an object means to us changes so dramatically when we say it's mine. Yeah, that's my dog, or my husband, or my car. Yeah, but then you sell the car, then it belongs to somebody else. It's no longer yours. And whereas you used to get really bummed out if it got scratched when it was your car, now it's somebody else's, you don't get bummed out. Okay? So what we're talking about here is things, you know, and just really the word mine, you know, how it almost looks different when we call it mine. Yeah. So this cup who does this cup belong to? It belongs to the center. What is the center? Does this building own the cup? What is the center? Does the building own the cup? Do all the members of the center own the cup? Yeah. Do the incorporation papers of the center own the cup? Yeah. What in the world is the center? But it's very clear that if this belongs to the center and I take it without asking, I'm stealing. But who am I stealing from? We can't find it. Okay, so there's a difference between something's ultimate nature and its conventional nature. You may have heard of conventional truths and ultimate truths. So conventional truths are talking about things that appear true to a mind that is ignorant. Okay, so dare I speak about you? Maybe I should speak about myself. I have ignorance. So whatever I look at, yeah, it appears to me as if it has an essence that is it, and an ownership that it is, and yeah, but none of that is its ultimate nature, because when I scratch the surface and ask, what really is this flower? We can't find a flower. When I ask, who is this person that I adore? I can't find who he or she is. Okay, but that person still exists. So on the ultimate level, things are empty of having any inherent nature. Because when we analyze, when we examine, we can't find what it is. That's the ultimate level, yeah? On the conventional level, which has to do with everyday usage and language, we all know what a flower is, and we know what a cup is. Okay, so on a conventional level, things exist, yeah, but on the conventional level, we don't do what is called ultimate analysis. In other words, we're not asking, what is this really? Does it have a real essence? Yeah, the conventional level, we're just accepting things as they appear, as we have given them common names so that we can communicate with each other. That's conventional existence. Ultimate existence would be trying to find what something really is. Yeah, and when we do that, it's empty. It's empty, not of all existence. It's empty of inherent existence, having its own self-instituting ability. It's empty of that kind of existence. But conventional existence, there's a cup, there's a flower, and maybe you're married. Yeah, you have to figure that out. Okay, so there's a difference. Yeah, convention is talking about how things, just are in general according to the words we use. Yeah, ultimate existence is what exactly is that word referring to? Now, okay, does that mean that we don't do any analysis on the conventional level? No, we do analysis. When you go into the store and you want to buy a cantaloupe, you analyze that cantaloupe. You pick it up and you pat it and you hear what it sounds like, and maybe you smell it and turn it around, make sure it isn't purple or something. Yeah? So you do use some kind of conventional analysis, but you're not using ultimate analysis in the search of what really is a cantaloupe.
We don't really analyze or examine what it is in a conventional level.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I've been always wondering, is that the third criteria of the conventional existence? I always had a problem understanding of the third criteria, is that the discredit, it doesn't discredit by ultimate analysis of the conventional.
Okay, so let me explain the three conditions that show that something exists conventionally. One is it's renowned in the world, yeah? Everybody knows what a cantaloupe is. Well, not everybody, but in general, it's a cantaloupe. Yeah. Then second criteria for it to exist conventionally is that there's not another conventional valid cognizer. There's not another mind that is reliable, that contradicts it being a cantaloupe. Okay? If somebody came in and said, that's a hippopotamus, yeah, that would not contradict it being a cantaloupe. Okay. But if somebody, if you had a watermelon and somebody came in and said, that's a cantaloupe, that would contradict it being, and that person saw things accurately, that person would contradict it being a watermelon. Then the third criteria, and this is the one that you want to know about, is if we are clinging to an inherently existent cantaloupe, yeah, does an inherently existent cantaloupe exist? No. Okay. So if somebody is clinging to an inherently existent cantaloupe and says, this is a real cantaloupe, it's not. This is a real cup, yeah. And it's an inherently existent cup. It has cup nature. Then somebody could say, no, you analyze. And when you analyze to find its ultimate mode of existence, you can't find the cup. Okay? So there's a conventional cup, but there's not an ultimately existent cup, because that cup can be negated by the mind that analyzes emptiness. Emptiness.
Even in the conventional level, that
Yeah.
inherent existence doesn't exist even in the conventional level.
Right. Yeah. Inherent existence does not exist at all.
Your examples kind of like showcase the temporary transit nature of objects. And everything is transient. The universe only exists for so long. It's not permanent. But just because it's not permanent doesn't mean it's empty of inherent nature. You know, even if you don't have a word for it, like if you come from a culture where they don't have like tables and chairs, still that object is that object for as long as it exists.
Yeah, but when you ask, what is that object? When you say, this is a cup, we're speaking on a conventional level. Yeah, but when we say, what is the cup really? Is it the ceramics? Is it, I don't know how you make ceramics, but is it any of the parts that make it ceramics? Or is the cup the bottom? Is it the side? Is it the rim? Is it the handle? When you're doing what's called ultimate analysis, what is this really? That you can't find it. But when we don't analyze just how things appear, it's a cup. Okay, but so what's the difference between the conventional cup and our thought, our grasping at a real cup? Okay, if it were a real cup, however long it existed, yeah, we would be able to identify exactly what a real cup was. And a real cup could never change, because if it has inside of it some cup nature, then that cup nature could never change, so the cup could never break. Okay, so when we start using logic, to try and see if things exist inherently, then it kind of crumbles. When we don't analyze and we just accept that, oh, we learned as a kid this is called a cup, and everybody knows what we're talking about, then that's fine. We can communicate. Okay, so the difference between something existing conventionally, which is the only way things can exist, and the things existing ultimately, and nothing exists that way. Okay, because ultimate existence would be independent of everything else. Okay, let's come back to the self here. Yeah, you feel I am here. There is a big I. You are certain that you are here, right? And I bet you can tell me all about yourself. You're this nationality, you have this kind of health, you come from this kind of spiritual background, this kind of race, this religion, this heritage, this, you like this kind of music, you can have all sorts of different qualities. But are any of them some, real person that is who you really are? And if so, can you find that? When you search, you can't.
Is being reincarnated.
What is being reincarnated?
Oh, yeah. So we think, yes, there's a real me. It's here in this body. I saw one movie many, many years ago, and the husband of the family died, and this kind of foggy thing rose up out of his body, and it went over there to the family dog and went into the dog body. So then the husband is really the dog. Yeah. And then he was watching the whole family as a dog. Yeah. Is the husband now a dog? Yeah. If he were a cockroach and became a human being, yeah, does a cockroach become a human being? Is there some intrinsic nature of the cockroach's mind that is incarnated as a human being? So you really have a cockroach mind, but you look like a human being?
There's a children's story though.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, you don't look like a cockroach to me. And you don't talk like a cockroach either. How did cockroaches talk? Anybody ever hit a cockroach? Yeah. So, it's difficult when we, what is it that reincarnates? There's not one solid, unified thing that is a person that reincarnates. But also, it's not that this person dies and all their attributes go in all different directions, and then there's another person that arises and it has the visual consciousness that used to be that person, and the auditory consciousness that was this person, and the mental consciousness, no, it's not like that either. Okay? Because we say the person who creates the cause experiences the result. Yeah. Yeah, otherwise the law of karma wouldn't make any sense at all. So what it is that continues is the mental continuum. Okay? The mental continuum. What is the mental continuum? It is made of moments of consciousness. Which consciousness? It's made of moments that are clear and cognizant. But each moment of consciousness is not the same as the preceding moment. Yeah? Otherwise, if each moment of consciousness were the same as the preceding moment, then you would have come here and you would not have learned anything, because you would still have the same minds thinking the same thing that you did when you walked in. Yeah? So there's a continuum, but in that continuum, there's nothing we can find that is an inherently existent person with its own essence. Okay? If there were a real soul and that was reborn, then, okay, the cockroach, the human being now has a cockroach mind. I don't think so. Okay. Now, the thing is, I wanted to come back to this thing about analysis. There's different kinds of analysis. When we use ultimate analysis, we're trying to find out what that really is. What is the referent of that name? Okay. When we use conventional analysis, then we're just talking about, this is where opinions come in, perspectives come in. Yeah, conventional truths get messy. Okay. So, for example, somebody gets arrested, they go to court. Yeah. And the jury tries to find out, are they innocent or are they guilty? Okay. So at one moment, what we're just basically trying to do is find out what designation, what name to put on that person. Is it innocent or is it guilty? Because depending on the word, we all have a lot of meaning that we impute on the meaning of that word. But, we may say this person is innocent, but there's nothing, what is innocent in them? Or we may say they're guilty. Can we find, some particle of matter that is guilty? Can we find some consciousness is guilty? No. But just, we're talking general analysis, general conventional words. Okay? They're different that way. But that's why we, often disagree, because what we are disagreeing about is what word to give to something. Yeah, it sounds strange, but when you really think about it, it's trying to decide what word, because that word has a whole lot of meaning. Some of that meaning is shared by everybody, but some of the meaning isn't. Okay, like we say, this flower is beautiful, but somebody may look at this flower and say, I don't think it's so gorgeous. I don't like the color purple. Well, is this purple or is it violet? What color is this? Okay, let's say for the heck of it, it's purple. But no, it's really violet. It's really kind of a dark pink. So with conventional analysis, we're trying to figure out what name to give this. Yeah. And the problem with different names is that we see things differently. Yeah. You may look in the dictionary and look up purple and violet and dark pink. That's nice. It tells you a bunch of words. But everybody's still going to look at this and, call it a different color. Yeah, so conventional existence is like that. You can see things in different ways. It becomes different for different things. Yeah, when I lived in Dharamsala, okay, so even the word food, you know, we think, yeah, we all know what food is. Yeah. You know, this is not food. But when I lived in Dharamsala, just above McLeod Ganj, in one of the houses there was no plumbing there. So, you know, in the morning, we all went out to the woods and did our business. And everybody kind of managed to have their own place, you know. But I would go out there, you know, I would deposit my account, and, you know, and, you know, there it was. And I'd come back the next day and it was gone. It was gone. No person took it. The flies ate it. For me, that is not food. For the fly, it is food. Okay, so, you know, the name, the designation we give to something depends a lot on, you know, who we are. Different living beings are going to give things different names and see things differently.
So this is this, I don't know. The situation with the person on trial, maybe guilty, maybe innocent. The way I relate this to everyday life is that if I were the person on trial, whether or not I was guilty or innocent, whatever word they chose for me, I would need to accept and do the best that I could under the circumstances to make life, if I'm accused of being guilty in jail, not to have a pity party.
Mm-hmm.
How does that relate?
That's what I want to ask you. How does that relate to what I'm talking about?
It's, yeah, I mean, when you were talking about the dog, like I don't, so many of the examples don't hit me to hit my heart, but then when you're talking about the dog, I was like, well, if somebody said that that wasn't my dog, I would crave, and then I'd worry if somebody took my dog, she would miss me, and all of this, like.
Yeah. Yeah. The word my puts a lot of meaning on that.
But it is true that the dog and I would miss each other if someone stole her.
Yeah, then.
But that just accept.
That's the way sentient beings are. Yeah. Maybe she would find a new owner and say, oh, that one gives me more treats. Yeah.
Somebody with a huge backyard, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So does this mean that we're all living different realities? I mean, if we all are labeling an object in a way where we assume that something that's nice, that the other person thinks of nice, and then we label another thing as jerk, and we assume the other person, but in reality, we all have different ideas and perspectives, right?
Yeah.
So are we we're not really experiencing the same, are we experiencing the same realities?
Doesn't look like it. Yeah. It's, you know, we are experiencing the same reality in the sense that we all say this is a flower. Yeah. But, you know, okay, what's a good example? Pickles. Okay. Who likes pickles? Who doesn't like pickles? Are we experiencing the same reality if somebody serves pickles?
Probably not, because I used to hate pickles, and now I like pickles.
So are pickles good or are pickles bad? Which one are they? Even from your own experience. You know, you get married, this person is wonderful. You get divorced, they're awful. Yeah. Who were they? Who are you? Okay. So we have different perspectives. Now, some of this has to do with our karma. You know, it has to do, I think like animal brains are different than human brains. So and each species and each individual within a species is going to see something differently because there is no objective reality out there. And our problem, or one of our problems, is we think there's an objective reality out there that makes something what it is. Yeah. And we hold on to that as being really what we think it is. And then we quarrel with other people. Yeah. This is mine. No, it's not yours, it's mine. Yeah, I told you mine, but mine refers here, and you're saying mine refers there. I'm saying, no, mine talks about me. You are you. Yours is yours. Yours is not mine. But from your perspective, what I call yours is mine. And what I call you call I. So who are you? Are you I or are you you? Okay. If there is an objective reality, we should be able to agree on this, and we should be able to find something in it that is you, or that is I. Like they slice you open and Jack in the Box comes out and says, you or I, or, whatever your name is. But then, what about your name? Yeah, he used to be Luke. Yeah, now he's Kunshok. Is he Kunshok or is he Luke? If there's an objective reality, he can only be one of them. But when he travels with a passport, he's Luke. At the Abbey, he's Kunshok. So there's two people. Do you have a double personality? Yeah. Well, are you Luke or are you Kunshok? Yeah.
I'd rather be Kumchak.
You'd rather be Kunshok. But your passport says Luke. How can you, then you're lying. Yeah, you're giving them the passport that says Luke. And they say, hi, Luke, and you say, hi. And they say, are you Luke? And you go, yeah, I'm Luke. Can you be Luke and Kunshok at the same time? But Luke is a layperson and Kunshok is a monk. Can you be a monk and a layperson at the same time? Some people think they are. But technically speaking, according to the definitions that we've given people, you can't be both at the same time. You can be one at one part of your life and then the other at the other part of your life.
But it's the same five aggregate. Luke is same five aggregates as.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Do those five aggregates have one solid, inherently existent person in them? No. So he can be Luke and he can be Kunshok. Yeah, I'm glad you agree with me. Okay. Yeah. What I want to do before we close, because we're running out of time, is just to read the rest of the verses here. Okay. Okay. So verse 10 says, so that you get the transmission. One who sees the infallible cause and effect of all phenomena and cyclic existence and beyond, and destroys all false perceptions of their inherent existence, has entered the path which pleases the Buddha. Okay, I'm not going to even try and explain this in 45 seconds. Okay, the next verse. Appearances are infallible dependent arisings. Emptiness is free of assertions of inherent existence or non-existence. In other words, when we negate inherent existence, it doesn't mean things do not exist. They exist, yeah, but they don't exist in the way they appear to exist. Okay. As long as these two understandings are seen as separate, one has not yet realized the intent of the Buddha. When these two realizations are simultaneous and concurrent, from the mere sight of infallible dependent arising comes definite knowledge which completely destroys all modes of mental grasping. At that time, the analysis of the profound view is complete. In addition, appearances clear away the extreme of inherent existence. Emptiness clears away the extreme of non-existence. When you understand the arising of cause and effect from the viewpoint of emptiness, you are not captivated by either extreme view. In this way, when you have realized the exact points of the three principal aspects of the path, by depending on solitude, generate the power of joyous effort and quickly accomplish the final goal, my spiritual child. And then there's a colophon that says these instructions were imparted to Nawang Drakpa, a friar. There's no friars in Tibet. Maybe monk is not. Monk. A monk from the Sako district by that very learned Buddhist monk, the glorious Losang Drakpa. Okay. So that's the three. Oh, we should read the very beginning. That's the tradition, that when you finish a text, you go back and you start at the beginning reading it, because that indicates that you start, but you can't finish. So it means you have to meet again to finish. Okay, so I bow down to the Venerable Spiritual Masters. I will explain as well as I am able the essence of all the teachings of the conqueror, the path praised by the conquerors and their spiritual children, the entrance for the fortunate ones who desire liberation. Listen with clear minds, you fortunate ones who direct your minds to the path pleasing to the Buddha, and strive to make good use of freedom and fortune without being attached to the joys of cyclic existence. Okay, so we'll stop there. Yeah. And I can't say the end because we still have a lot more to learn, don't we? All of us.